And joining us on First Post is Mary Anna Mancuso, a Republican political strategist, joining us live from Richmond, Virginia. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
With 8 days left until the election, polls reveal a major gender divide, with men favoring Donald Trump and women favoring Kamala Harris. What is driving this split, and how might it impact the outcome?
We're seeing a massive split mainly based on suburban college-educated women. And so there is a divide, there's a diploma divide that's taking place here. And right now, one of the hot button issues within this election is going to be abortion. And we've seen that women are mainly going with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as a candidate of choice because they are looking to have the protection of their bodies and bodily autonomy. Donald Trump is appealing to young Latin men, and he's really doubling down on this machismo of sorts. And it's really speaking to them. And it's a very interesting campaign strategy because oftentimes when it comes to turning out the vote here in America, we know that young men don't normally show up and vote on election day. And so that's a really big gamble from the Trump campaign, while women are often more active when it comes to voting.
That's very interesting. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have exchanged sharp personal criticisms, with Trump calling Harris stupid and Harris labeling Trump unstable. Could there be a strategic purpose behind these personal attacks?
I think that that's a very astute question. However, I would say there's not necessarily any strategy behind these attacks other than to call to question regarding the Harris campaign, referring to Donald Trump as unstable, is highlighting and underscoring the fact that he may not be mentally capable of carrying out the duties of the presidency should he be reelected this November.
Yeah, absolutely. And high-profile supporters like Taylor Swift and Michelle Obama back Kamala Harris, while Donald Trump has endorsements from figures like Elon Musk. And his latest podcast with Joe Rogan has raked in millions of views. Just how influential will celebrity engagements be in shaping voter opinions this election?
I think that's a very fair question. It's going to be interesting to see if they really carry any weight. Previously, we've often said a celebrity endorsement is just a really nice to have, right? It's like padding the resume. It's getting this endorsement. They're sharing it out to their followers. Last night, J.Lo came out and supported Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and announced her endorsement of them to her 44.1 million followers on Twitter. And so it will be interesting to see. Joe Rogan has a large following base, as does Elon Musk on Twitter. So we'll see if that makes any difference. But really, we know that Kamala Harris is garnering a lot of celebrity endorsements. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen did a concert for her last week. And if that makes the difference, it's going to be hard to tell until we look at the exit polling, so to speak. And if they go back and say, oh, I voted because Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, or I voted because I heard Trump on Joe Rogan and I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. But oftentimes these voters are looking to find out who they can trust to lead them into the next 4 years of our country.
Absolutely. And like more focused on policy. Now, Trump's stance on abortion has been a major talking point among women across the country. Now, even many Republican women are rejecting Donald Trump's stance on abortion. Could this backfire for him, as he is unable to convince women in his party to rally behind him?
That's really interesting, and let me explain why. Donald Trump initially, when he was president, worked really hard to overturn Roe v. Wade, and in fact, that was a big campaign for him when he was running for president the first time. And he was successful. He packed the court. They overturned with the Dobbs decision on the Supreme Court. And then in 2023, roughly 17 months after the Dobbs decision, Republicans lost electoral victories across Kentucky, Ohio, and Virginia. And it really hurt them. And Trump saw that. And as a result, instead of doubling down and saying we need to have a nationwide abortion ban and that we need to make sure that no woman could ever have an abortion if they need it, he is now pivoted and saying that it's a states' rights issue and that this needs to go to the states. And that's how he's really threading the needle when it comes to the issue of abortion. And we've seen him change his stance. Nevertheless, it is still giving many women, as you've noted, pause in whether or not they want to endorse or support that candidate for the next 4 years when Roe is on the line. And the Dobbs decision has really caused a lot of issues here in America for many women.
Right. And Mary Anna, both candidates have differing approaches to climate policy. Donald Trump has called climate change a hoax, but is now backed by Elon Musk, who is himself a big believer in fighting climate change. Will this play into the hands of Kamala Harris and the Democrats, or is climate change not a major concern this election?
I would love to tell you that it's at the forefront of everything we're doing in this election here in America. However, it's not. Climate change has not necessarily been out there as much as I would like to see it, as somebody who writes extensively on climate change and the need to find ways to solve for the climate crisis. But what we do know is that climate change is having an impact on the election with regards to all of the hurricanes. We saw 2 hurricanes within 2 weeks come through Florida, and those voters are impacted in the ability for them to get to the polls, access their ballots, and have those things that you are civically entitled to be able to do as an American citizen are in jeopardy. And so whether or not we're talking about climate change, or either candidate is taking a stance and sharing what they think needs to be done, which we are seeing from Harris Walz. Now, keep in mind, Vice President Kamala Harris was part of the Biden administration, who has passed one of the most comprehensive climate bills that we have seen. And Donald Trump continues with his Republican sycophants to say that it's a hoax. Whether or not they want to admit to climate change, it's arrived and it is impacting voters in this election currently as we are seeing it today.
Absolutely. Mary Anna, thank you very much for being with us and for your valued insights on this upcoming election.